Good morning and welcome to this appointment dedicated to the new features that will be introduced with the latest update. The first one concerns the management of users' timed accesses, while the second is a restyling of the user management page and consumption management page of Lattice 4.0 application. Let's discover them together. With the introduction of timed accesses, the management of users who need to have limited access to the system is simplified. This functionality will be very useful for the management of buildings such as companies, factories, or offices, but at the same time for the management of accommodation facilities such as B&Bs. To better understand this functionality, let's use the management of a company as an example. Let's assume that in this company, there are three types of users: ground floor employees, first floor employees, and warehouse workers. This will include the administrator user, the one who can create and edit users in the system. To simplify his work, it is necessary to use profiles, which allow us to pre-configure some common user settings. In this case, we already have the first two profiles, so we create a third one that will be dedicated to warehouse workers. We select the name, the access level, in this case, no action, and the partitions they will have access to. In our example, only the warehouse partition. We will see later when and how to use these profiles. To trigger the warehouse door to open on recognize of a user's code or tag, we can go to the Events page and select the keypad type event. Recognize code and recognize tag on the keypad called ErgoX warehouse, which will trigger the output called warehouse door. We move to the user app where we log in using the administrator user PIN. In the section on the left, Security, we find the item Timed Access, which is introduced with the last update of the application. Within this page, it is possible to create a new timed access, which in our case will be the one that will control the access of warehouse users. In the description, we write warehouse access. In the section below, we can select auto or manual mode. With auto mode, you can decide whether to allow access throughout the day or limit it only to a maximum of 2 time slots. For example, the shift from 8:30 until 12:30 and the shift from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. In the next section, we can allow access for all days of the week or select only specific days. In our example, we select only weekdays. In addition, it is possible to choose whether to exclude access on holidays using the National Holidays Calendar automatically calculated by the control panel based on the country in which it was installed. Additional customs dates can also be added on these holidays. For example, holidays of a specific township. Manual mode, on the other hand, can be useful for us to force enablement of users associated with this time access, even outside the preset times. At any time, we can return to auto mode without losing the previous configuration. Now, all we must do is go to the User Management page, click on the custom icon, and add a new user. As you can see, this page has been redesigned and made simpler and more complete. In the first section, User Profile, we type in the user's name and, if necessary, also their email and phone number. At the bottom, we select the profile created by the installer. On the Authorizations page, we can type in his PIN, type in the key tag serial number, and enable or disable PIN, key tag, and remote control. In the last section called Access Control, it is possible to associate this user with a time access among those previously configured. In our case, we select Warehouse Access. Finally, we have the option of adding a time validity. In our case, let's assume that this user should only have access for 4 months. In this case, by unchecking Always Valid, we can select the start and end time of validity. In our example, from 8 a.m. on September 1st to 6 p.m. on December 31st. Thanks to the new version of the latest 4.0 app, it will be possible to have more details about the data collected by the Energia module, related therefore to energy consumption and production. In the section Smart Home, Consumption Management, we select one of our matters and immediately see the data that relate to consumption and or production subdivided by week. Through this selector, we can view them in daily, monthly, or annual detail. The tabs at the bottom shows the data for the total energy consumed, the average energy consumed, and the peak of consumption. The same goes, of course, for the energy produced. By clicking on the individual columns, we can see the relevant figure more precisely. And through this section, we can scroll through days, weeks, months, or years. In the top section, however, we can choose to display only the peak powers recorded during the selected period, or the excess energy. That is, the difference between energy produced and energy consumed. Data that can then be shown as positive or negative.